Summer arrived quietly in southeast England. Warm air drifted through calm streets. Long evenings felt endless and safe. Neighbors nodded as they passed by. It began like any normal day. No alarms. No warnings. No urgency. Only televisions humming behind open windows. A quiet rhythm everyone trusted. Then everything shifted in an instant. An emergency call broke the silence. A voice rushed, breathless, frightened, fading. Responders raced toward a suburban home. They did not yet understand the gravity. Behind one ordinary front door, history was changing. How did a trusted family face such loss? What signs went unnoticed along the way? Tonight, we follow Louise Hunt's story. Bushey was the kind of town where evenings felt predictable and calm. Tree-lined streets, familiar faces, quiet routines. A place rarely touched by headlines. The Hunt family lived at its heart. Known, respected, quietly admired by neighbors. John Hunt was a familiar voice. Sports fans knew him instantly. His commentary was quick and energetic, calm under pressure, trusted by listeners. But home was different. Here he was simply a father, a husband sharing everyday moments. Carol Hunt preferred life behind the scenes. She focused on warmth and routine, meals shared around a table, small traditions that brought comfort, the kind of details holding families together. Their daughters followed separate paths, each building a life of her own. Hannah loved beauty and wellness. She helped others feel confident. Friends described her as thoughtful and kind. Louise adored animals from a young age. She turned that passion into purpose. Her small business, Groom and Glow, grew steadily. Clients trusted her gentle care. She even trained in pet first aid, a detail many remembered with admiration. Amy, the youngest, began living independently, exploring adulthood beyond the family home. Yet the bond stayed strong. Friends said the sisters were close, protective of one another, loyal through everything. Family gatherings were loud with laughter. Inside jokes passed around the room, the kind of closeness people notice quietly. To neighbors, the Hunts represented stability. A steady family in a steady town. Nothing dramatic. Nothing unusual. No one imagined change approaching. No one sensed a growing shadow nearby. Because normal life often looks strongest right before everything shifts. And in Bushey, that illusion remained intact. For just a little longer. On the surface, everything looked calm. No public arguments. No visible tension. No urgent calls asking for help. Life continued in familiar rhythms. Work schedules filled the weekdays. Weekends brought family visits and laughter. Ordinary conversations carried on unchanged. Neighbors saw nothing unusual. Just another family living quietly. But elsewhere, another story unfolded. A very different path was forming. Kyle Clifford's early years lacked stability. Frequent moves disrupted friendships and routine. Belonging always seemed just out of reach. He searched for structure where he could. Military service appeared to offer direction. Rules and order promised clarity. Yet discipline didn't bring lasting balance. The inner unrest remained unresolved. After returning to civilian life, jobs came and went quickly. Conflicts followed close behind. Relationships felt difficult to maintain. Frustration often replaced connection. Stability slipped further away. From the outside, nothing linked these worlds. A steady family. A restless young man. No one could see the intersection coming. No obvious sign pointed toward danger. Two separate lives moved forward silently. One rooted in calm and routine. The other shaped by uncertainty and anger. Slowly, almost invisibly, their paths began to draw closer. And the illusion of stability remained. For now, Louise met Kyle in 2022. The timing felt hopeful and new. She was building her business with pride. He seemed interested in her dreams. He asked thoughtful questions. He listened carefully to her answers. He praised her ambition and determination. At first, everything felt easy. Conversations flowed without tension. Plans seemed simple and exciting. Friends saw a new relationship forming. Nothing immediately caused alarm. But small shifts began quietly, almost too subtle to notice. Messages arrived more frequently. Then they became constant. Morning check-ins turned into expectations. Silence felt less acceptable. Questions sounded caring at first. Where are you right now? Who are you with today? Soon the tone changed. Comments about her schedule appeared critical. Suggestions became instructions. Questions about friends felt sharper. Why did you stay so long? Who was there with you? The camera lingers on her phone. Notification after notification appearing. A steady stream without pause. What feels like attention can slowly feel like monitoring. Louise tried to stay patient. She explained his behavior as worry. She believed reassurance might help. Her family sensed unease growing. Carol urged caution, gently but firmly. Focus on actions, not promises. John kept a quiet distance, watching closely from the sidelines. Friends noticed changes as well. Louise seemed more tense lately. She hesitated before answering questions. Plans with friends happened less often. She defended him when asked. He's just protective, she said. He's been through a lot. But subtle patterns kept growing. Boundaries slowly shifted outward. Freedom felt slightly reduced each week. Moments that once felt normal now required explanation or reassurance. The emotional weight built quietly, not through one dramatic event, through many small moments instead. And that is often how it begins. Not loudly, but gradually. Investigators frequently describe early warning signals. They rarely arrive all at once. Requests for constant updates, checking locations repeatedly, needing immediate responses, criticism disguised as concern, comments framed as protection, questions that feel like doubt, slow separation from friends or family, plans canceled more frequently, conversations becoming private or hidden. These behaviors often grow slowly. They normalize over time. What once felt unusual starts to feel expected. Experts say this progression matters. Control rarely appears overnight. It develops through repetition. Many people don't recognize it early, because it often resembles caring, because affection and pressure intertwine. The difficult question remains: when does concern become control? For Louise, the line blurred gradually. She still hoped things would improve. She believed patience could help. But those close to her felt something shifting beneath the surface. And once patterns take hold, they can be very hard to reverse. The story was still unfolding. Quietly, almost invisibly. But the warning signs were already there. By late June 2024, things changed. Louise made a difficult decision. She chose to step away. Her message was calm and clear. Respectful, thoughtful, direct. She asked for space and peace. At first, the response seemed measured. Polite words. Acceptance on the surface. A tone that suggested understanding. But it didn't last long. Messages began arriving more often. Long paragraphs filled with emotion. Promises of change. Plans for the future. Apologies repeated again and again. He asked for another chance. Said things could be different. Said the connection was special. When replies stayed brief, the tone slowly shifted. Frustration replaced calm language. Questions turned into accusations. Why are you doing this? Who changed your mind? Blame moved outward quickly. Family members became part of the story. Friends were mentioned with suspicion. Outside influence became the explanation. Louise's responses grew shorter. Neutral. Careful. Minimal. She avoided arguments. Then came the silence. No more replies. No more conversation. Just quiet space between messages. For her, it meant closure. For investigators, it marked something else. Silence can mean acceptance. Or it can mean escalation. Later evidence would suggest. This was the turning point. The moment intentions began to change. What had once been persuasion started moving toward obsession. The absence of dialogue left room for darker reasoning. And when communication ended, another process quietly began. Plans forming without anyone knowing. Thoughts hardening into action. Looking back, investigators saw it clearly. The warning signs had shifted direction. The relationship was over. But the story was not. In many cases like this, the most dangerous moment comes after someone chooses to leave. And by early July, that reality was approaching fast. The morning of July 9th began quietly. Warm air settled over the streets. Routine errands filled the day. Nothing seemed unusual at first. People walked dogs and shopped nearby. Neighbors carried on with normal life. The town felt calm and predictable. Security cameras later told another story. Kyle moved through public spaces calmly. He blended into ordinary routines. No urgency. No visible panic. Investigators later believed planning had already reached its final stage. By afternoon, he arrived nearby. He carried items that looked harmless. Nothing about his approach stood out. No immediate reason for suspicion. At first glance, everything appeared normal. Inside the home, events unfolded quickly. Moments passed that changed everything. When investigators reconstructed the sequence, they found signs of preparation. Timing had been carefully considered. Daily routines appeared closely observed. Questions began immediately. How long had this been planned? What clues had been missed? Digital evidence became the first focus. Search histories revealed troubling patterns. Investigators identified deliberate research. Purchases raised further concern. Items acquired over several days. Each choice suggesting preparation, not impulse. Receipts created a timeline. Transactions aligned with key dates. Detectives asked difficult questions. Was this sudden or escalating? When did intention begin forming? The deeper they looked, the clearer the planning appeared. Yet one mystery remained. Did anyone see warning signs early? Phone data became essential next. Location records mapped daily movements. Time stamps narrowed the sequence. Messages between the two slowed. Replies became shorter and less frequent. Then the conversation stopped entirely. Silence replaced communication. Investigators compared timestamps carefully. Last messages. Last activity. Moments when devices went quiet. Digital footprints built a story. Minute by minute, piece by piece. Security cameras added clarity. Vehicles appearing at specific times. Routes traced across the area. The timeline tightened rapidly. Every movement connected to another. What seemed random at first began forming a clear pattern. Then came the call. A voice reaching dispatch. Broken words. Urgent breaths. Fragments that conveyed fear and urgency. Operators worked quickly and calmly. Address confirmed. Units dispatched. Questions asked between fading responses. Responders arrived within minutes. They entered expecting uncertainty. What they encountered shocked even veterans. The atmosphere inside felt overwhelming. Multiple people needed immediate help. Time suddenly felt very limited. Paramedics worked with urgency. Officers secured the surroundings. Initial observations suggested complexity. This was not random chaos. Signs pointed toward deliberate action. As responders stabilized the scene, a new concern emerged quickly. The suspect had already left. The search began almost immediately. Officers widened the perimeter rapidly. Roads and nearby areas were checked. Residents were asked to stay alert. Doorbell cameras became crucial evidence. Shops provided surveillance recordings. Analysts reviewed footage in real time. Every frame mattered now. By evening, the search intensified. Alerts spread across broadcasts and online feeds. Images circulated across the country. The nation watched anxiously. Everyone wanted answers quickly. Modern investigations rely on digital traces. Small details create powerful evidence. Phone location data maps movement patterns. Security cameras confirm physical presence. Transaction records reveal decisions and timing. Digital messages show emotional context. Investigators combine these elements carefully. One source alone rarely tells everything. When combined, they rebuild an entire day. Minute by minute. Step by step. Patterns emerge where confusion once existed. Timelines reveal intent and opportunity. This process often changes everything. What seems chaotic becomes understandable. As night fell, tension increased. The suspect remained unaccounted for. Police expanded the operation regionally. Additional teams joined the search. Reports poured in from citizens. Possible sightings. Unconfirmed leads. Each one investigated carefully. Traffic cameras traced possible routes. Some signals disappeared unexpectedly. Investigators adjusted strategies quickly. The search moved toward North London. Attention shifted to familiar locations. Places connected to the suspect's past. Officers prepared for a long operation. The situation remained unpredictable. Inside command centers, analysts worked non-stop. Screens displayed maps and timelines. Calls were logged continuously. The case was no longer local. Media coverage intensified nationwide. Families watching at home followed every update closely. Behind the scenes, investigators remained focused. They continued assembling small details. Each clue narrowing possibilities further. What happened inside the house was becoming clearer by the hour. Yet one crucial question remained unanswered. Where was the suspect now? As dawn approached the next day, new information arrived unexpectedly. A tip changed the direction. Officers moved quickly to respond. The search area narrowed dramatically. Specialist teams prepared for contact. The long investigation loop was about to move toward resolution. But for investigators, the emotional weight remained heavy. 3 lives had been changed forever. The community was searching for understanding. And across the nation, people asked the same question. How could an ordinary day transform into something so devastating? The evidence would continue speaking, piece by piece, line by line, and the full picture was only beginning to emerge. Attention soon centered on one person, someone connected to the family, someone with history and access. Investigators began narrowing possibilities. Patterns pointed in one direction. Digital evidence supported the focus. The search extended beyond Bushey. Road networks were reviewed carefully. Attention shifted toward North London. Officers coordinated across regions. Information moved quickly between teams. Every sighting was taken seriously. The atmosphere changed rapidly. Confusion gave way to urgency. This was no longer uncertain. Investigators believed planning existed beforehand. Evidence suggested preparation and intent. Notes recovered later added context. Personal reflections. Farewell undertones. Thoughts written before the events unfolded. These discoveries shifted understanding. This was not impulsive behavior. It appeared deliberate and structured. Command centers worked through the night. Maps covered with routes and timelines. Analysts reviewed footage repeatedly. Vehicles were tracked where possible. Camera angles stitched together movement. The search tightened around key locations. Public alerts remained active. Residents were urged to stay cautious. Media coverage intensified nationwide. People watched updates closely. A quiet town had become national news. Investigators considered possible outcomes. Would the suspect surrender peacefully? Would he continue avoiding contact? Hours passed with uncertainty. Then new information arrived. A tip pointed to a nearby area, close to places tied to his past. Officers moved quickly but carefully. Specialist units established perimeters. Medical teams stayed on standby. The location carried emotional weight. A family memorial site nearby. Quiet. Isolated. Symbolic. Officers followed strict protocol. Announcements were made clearly. Instructions repeated through loudspeakers. The atmosphere felt tense and fragile. Moments stretched longer than expected. Movement was detected inside. Everyone waited for a response. Eventually, officers entered cautiously. The operation moved with precision. Safety remained the highest priority. The suspect was located alive. He was taken into custody. Medical attention was provided immediately. The immediate public danger ended. Relief spread across the command team. Residents were informed the threat passed. Yet relief felt incomplete. Questions still filled the air. Why had things escalated so far? What thinking led to this outcome? Could warning signs have changed anything? Investigators prepared for interviews. Evidence collection continued simultaneously. Every detail needed confirmation. The suspect spoke very little initially. Short responses. Long silences. Minimal explanation offered. Notes and digital traces became more important than words. The investigation shifted again. From locating someone to understanding motivation and timeline. Psychological analysts reviewed behavior patterns. Past conflicts were examined closely. Communication history was analyzed deeply. Each piece reinforced one idea. Planning had unfolded over time. For investigators, this mattered greatly. It explained methodical decisions. It shaped how charges were pursued. The public followed every development. Many struggled to understand what happened. How could ordinary life unravel so quickly? Meanwhile, the Hunt family faced unimaginable grief. Their private pain became public conversation. Officers involved described emotional strain. Scenes like this leave lasting marks. Even experienced professionals felt shaken. The suspect remained under guard. Medical care continued as required. Legal proceedings began quietly in parallel. As headlines spread, the story shifted from search to accountability. Yet unanswered questions persisted. What moments preceded the turning point? What signs were overlooked or misunderstood? Experts later reflected on patterns. Isolation. Escalating fixation. These themes appeared repeatedly in similar investigative cases. The focus now expanded beyond one person. The conversation became broader. How do communities recognize risk early? How can families respond safely? What resources exist when concern grows? For investigators, the case offered lessons about digital evidence, about behavioral warning signals, about timing and intervention. Still, none of it changed the outcome. The operation had ended successfully. The suspect was in custody. The immediate fear had passed. But inside the quiet streets of Bushey, the sense of loss remained profound. The unanswered questions would follow everyone involved. Investigators, family members, community members. And as the legal process moved forward, a new phase began quietly. Not the search for a person, but the search for understanding. Because even when danger ends, the story rarely feels complete. And for many watching, one thought lingered above all others. How did this happen? And could it ever have been prevented? The investigation would continue seeking answers. Step by step. Through evidence, testimony, and time. The public threat was over. But the deeper questions remained unresolved. Court proceedings began months later. The atmosphere felt heavy and quiet. Everyone understood the weight involved. Investigators presented what they had assembled. Timelines built from digital traces. Records showing preparation and intent. Evidence aligned with earlier findings. The courtroom listened carefully. Details were reviewed step by step. Nothing rushed. Nothing dramatized. Each piece confirmed the investigation. Planning had occurred over time. Timing appeared deliberate and calculated. The room stayed largely silent. Only voices of procedure echoed. Pages turning. Documents read aloud. For the Hunt family, clarity finally began to emerge. Questions received legal answers. But clarity is not comfort. Understanding does not erase loss. 3 lives were gone. From one home in one afternoon. A reality difficult to absorb. Family members sat through proceedings. With quiet strength and restraint. The emotional weight was unmistakable. Photographs were placed before the court. Images of ordinary happiness. Moments captured before everything changed. Smiles frozen in time. Lives full of plans and routines. The courtroom recognized their humanity. Not statistics. Not headlines. But people deeply loved. Testimony focused on facts. Evidence spoke louder than emotion. Timelines confirmed the sequence clearly. The verdict eventually arrived. The decision reflected overwhelming evidence. Legal accountability was established. For investigators, it marked completion. Months of work reaching conclusion. Questions answered through documentation. Yet emotional closure remained distant. The verdict closed a legal chapter. But it could not restore balance. It could not return lost moments. For John and Amy Hunt, life had permanently changed. Their family home felt different now. A place once filled with warmth became a reminder of absence. Observers noted the quiet dignity shown by surviving relatives. Their focus remained on remembrance. The judge emphasized seriousness and impact. This was not random chaos. Evidence showed deliberate decision-making. As proceedings ended, the courtroom remained subdued. There were no celebrations, only a shared sense of finality. Photographs remained visible throughout, silent reminders of who mattered most. For many watching, the case became symbolic, a reflection on warning signs missed. Legal systems can deliver judgment. They cannot repair what's gone. The resolution confirmed the facts. Investigators' conclusions were validated. The timeline was now official record. But outside the courtroom, healing remained uncertain and ongoing. Community members continued leaving tributes. Messages of support appeared quietly. The story now belonged, not only to investigators, but to everyone seeking understanding. Justice had been delivered in legal terms. Yet grief continued beyond the verdict. The final documents were filed. The proceedings came to an end. And still, the photos remained. Anna, please. Symbols of ordinary lives. Interrupted too soon. For the Hunt family, the legal process ended there. But the emotional journey would continue far beyond the courtroom walls. The most disturbing part wasn't the ending. It was how long the signs existed. Warning signals appeared quietly. So quietly they felt ordinary. Until suddenly, they did not. This story is bigger than one family. It sparked conversations everywhere. About control. About obsession. About how quickly life can change. For John and Amy Hunt, the silence left behind remains profound. Some absences never fully heal. Yet their story now carries purpose. Awareness grows from understanding. Patterns become easier to recognize. When does concern become control? When do small changes matter most? These questions now feel urgent. Experts often say early signs matter. Small moments can signal bigger dangers. Listening closely can save futures. Justice may close a courtroom chapter, but it cannot rewrite the past. What it can do is teach. If one viewer sees warning signs sooner, something meaningful endures. Awareness becomes quiet protection. Today, the street in Bushey is calm again. The houses stand quietly in the sun. Life moves forward, slowly. But one question remains for everyone watching. How do we notice the signs before it becomes too late? If this case held your attention, subscribe to Iman Crime Files for more documented investigations. New cases are uploaded regularly. Most crimes don't begin with violence. They begin with silence.